We'll be crossing over to Sheila Sindeo in Kitui. In fact, there was a report that there has been some disruption in terms of whether some of the polling materials being spoilt as a bus that was ferrying the same turned over, was carried by flood, and of course this exercise being disrupted. But the IEBC says it will have to postpone some of this or will consider the same. Sheila Sindeo, over to you.
It's decision day across the country, a day where Kenyans are expected to line up and decide who will be the country's president for the next 5 years. And even on this overcast day here in Kitui County, there's quite a number of people who've already turned up for this all-important exercise. This is a Central Primary School, one of the major polling stations in Kitui Town and indeed in Kitui County. And here we're told voting was delayed. The polling station did not open at 6 as was anticipated. There was a 2 or 3 hour delay. We're told there's been an accident. One of the vehicles that was carrying the ballot papers, transporting them to this location, was involved in an accident following the heavy rains that pounded this area the whole of last night. And there was a delay in getting the ballot papers to this location.
My name is Johnny Mumo, the presiding officer of Central Primary Polling Station 02, that is Stream 2. Sahi ndio tunafungua station kwa sababu yesterday we encountered natural calamity, that is kulikuwa na rains mingi, so because of the floods it was not possible where we were coming to the stations, and some of the, as you can see, some of the ballot papers zimeloa maji, so that's why tumefungua a bit late, but we'll compensate the same hours in the evening.
Now, the reasons for the delay have been less than satisfactory to the number of people, quite a number of them who'd lined up from as early as 5 o'clock to take part in this process. Here's what some of them had to say.
Kama ni kumess na place ingine, wanzi huko mbali, hapa tuko Central, hapa ndio CPD ya Kitui. Kwa hivyo zinapaswa zifike mbele, na kama hiyo story tunasikia zimeingia maji. Kama simiti tunaona watu wenye wanafanya biashara hapo wanafunga hema simiti zao zisiharibike na ballot box. Hizo ndio vitu za maana. Kwa hivyo which means kuna kitu haiko serious hapa.
Swali ni, the question is where is, excuse me, where are the rest of the boxes? Ziko wapi? Zinakuja moja moja.
Hizo zingine zimekuja hapa mpaka mikate. Hakuna mkate imeingia maji. Kwa nini makata siingie maji? Kwa nini hawangezuia? Endelea na maji. Tena hiyo gari haikuingia kwa mto venye wanatuambia hapa. Hapo wanakuja kutuambia gari imeingia kwa mto. Hakuna gari imeingia kwa mto. Tumeenda mpaka hapo. Gari imeanguka TTC. Hakuna gari imeingia kwa mto. Tena ni kuegemezwa hivi. Haijaanguka. Kwa nini wanatufanyia hivyo? What is there? Hata kama ni saa 12 ya kesho asubuhi, we are here to vote. Yes. Na kama kuna kura imeingia kwa maji, yangu haijaingia kwa maji personally. Lazima nikuwe kura nipige. Yes, I have to vote.
Ile wakati mwingine ilikuwa ni nyuki iliwafahamia. Leo imekuwa ni maji. Mungu ni yule. Uchaguzi haitakuwa hapa tena.
Tumesema hivyo. Kama kuwa. Tunasema baba alikuwa hapa na amesema kuna kura na tumekataa. Watu wa Kitui ndio wamekataa. Hii ni songo ya nani? Na tumesema ballot papers zimeingia maji.
So generally, these are the scenes in a majority of the polling stations here in Kitui County in a day that's typically about long queues and orderly lines, people really queuing up to vote. It's now about small queues in some parts and no people at all turning up to vote in some parts of the country. It appears that the calls to boycott this election have resonated with some of the people from this county who've stayed away altogether, deciding not to come out and vote. Here's a clear picture from Mutanda Primary School, one of the polling stations in Kitui County. It has 2 polling streams, one with 390 registered voters and another with 378 registered voters. For the presiding officers, the turnout has been less than impressive this time around.
Tulifungua saa 12 asubuhi na kufikia sasa ni mtu mmoja tu amejitokeza. Tarehe 8 wenye walikuwa amejitokeza wakati kama huu walikuwa more than 30. Lakini sasa ni mmoja tu, naona hiyo tofauti.
At the moment, we have only had 3 people voting up to now. So, comparatively, looking at this election and the last one, the voter turnout this time around is very low. As to whether the number of people will increase or not, because looking at the number of people who have voted so far, it is not likely to have more people coming, bearing in mind that most of the people like voting very early in the morning, and when you look at outside, you don't have a queue. That is already an indication that we may not have a very high number of people turning up. Yeah.
The last election, what was the percentage of the voter turnout, maybe?
From the polling station where I was presiding, the voter turnout was over 70, compared to this time, where we may not even have 20%, going by what we already have by now.
From the polling stations in rural areas to those in towns, it appears that there is voting all right, but it is not a vote at the ballot. It is a vote of no confidence in the election process and in the electoral body.